something that was not great, or maybe it was great depending on your circumstance. As we talk about your Dallas Cowboys here on the home of the Cowboys, 105 through the Fan. We learned today, and this was per Ian Rappaport, obviously NFL media, NFL Network, just big time insider, that the Cowboys and Dak Prescott have a mutual understanding. And I started reading that, I was like, oh, okay. And then this is where it turned. Of his contract situation, sources say, which with no offers from the Cowboys, despite him being in a contract year. Owner Jerry Jones said, quote, "We are where we are, locked and loaded for this year. No indication a deal is coming." And so we continue to tread along in the third year of Mike McCarthy's 5-year tenure of quarterback contract drama. Woo!
Yeah, they love it.
That extension drama continues. Now, Nick Harris of DallasCowboys.com, friend of the show, friend of the station, said that per the team and his sources, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have had extension discussions, but it is, quote, not a pressurized situation for either at this point. The door remains open for a deal to get done this offseason during the 2024 season. One of those two things, but there's no urgency. And so with that being said, what the hell is happening with Dak Prescott in this extension? Because for me personally, I'm looking at this and I go, okay, so Dak Prescott's getting ready to test free agency, right?
That's exactly what I thought. I mean, one, if he doesn't sign a deal this offseason, I think you're done.
I don't even know about this offseason. Like at this point,
you're not doing one during the season.
What's the incentive for him to do this?
Yeah. I mean, you've already, there's been a lot of smoke around maybe some unhappiness and family members and whatnot. There's been obviously some play in the playoffs. It hasn't been to the happiness of the fan base and of the front office, if you could say that.
That is one way of saying it, yeah.
I think he has played at an all-pro level a good amount of times. Like, it's not like he's been a bottom-of-the-league quarterback. He's been way above average when it comes to quarterback play. But at this point where you feel like maybe you're being a little disrespected, why is my contract not being prioritized? And
I don't even know how much it's disrespect, but like, look, man, Dak Prescott has been in this situation more often than he feels like he is not over the course of his career.
How many times did we see this with franchise quarterbacks? Joe Burrow, moment contract came up, we got you. Josh Allen, the moment a contract, we got you. All these quarterbacks that we consider the top quarterbacks of the league, most people around the league and the team itself, the moment there's even an inkling of we can give you a contract extension, let's get it happen. Let's have it. Let's do it right now. With Dak, why are we playing with our food? Now, I understand it for maybe the fan, like, oh, I don't know this, but you're the team. You are the GM. You have the right to write that check, figure it out, or say, hey, we are going to get this done, but it's maybe just, they're like, I don't know, just like us.
I think the questions that you're asking, I think all of that, the questions are fair when you look at it within the framework that we always seem to have, right? It's that the Cowboys ultimately come around and get the deal done. What happens if there's a level of change here? And I understand saying that for the Cowboys, and Cowboys fans roll their eyes because every time we say what happens if there's a change, there isn't a change, right? Yeah. A la all in, all these things, free agency, I get it, right? However, this one does feel like there might be a change. As we mentioned, I don't know that there's an incentive for Dak Prescott. He has bet on himself in a final year of a contract consistently, right? Like, he has been in that place. This would be another time where he could easily bet on himself going to free agency, knowing that he would be a very appealing free agent
for a lot of teams,
including the Cowboys. And like, they have no difference in leverage here. So why would you not go test the market and see if you can make that market go up, or just wait another year where quarterbacks could maybe get some more money and then that drives the number up? However, I do want to get here, if you don't mind. Our friend Jory Epstein of Yahoo Sports had a fantastic sit down where she talked about a few things, and one of these was the Dak Prescott thing, and how the Cowboys might not have incentive. At least they may not view it as that, because obviously the big jump in the salary cap might have made that $59 million cap hit a little more tenable. Right? They had anticipated, as the salary cap jumped $30 million over this offseason, they'd anticipate maybe a $15 million jump. So that's $15 million extra money. And if you think about this in a little bit of a roundabout way, imagine that $59 million cap hit minus 15, right? If you look at that as a $44 million cap hit, that sounds a little bit more digestible, does it not?
Yep.
Right? As opposed to like moving it down the line. And so maybe they look up and they say, we can stomach that for this year, especially if you're trying to get to some level of rebuild or retool. And I think that's what makes that conversation a lot more interesting now.
Yeah. It's an interesting spot because, yes, maybe you can afford to do it, but the other part of it, obviously the contract is a big part, is, well, if you don't sign an extension, then, well, after the season, Dak is no longer your quarterback.
Or maybe you have to pay him big money after then.
Yes, I think you can stomach it for this year and like do the whole all-in, whatever, 1-year contract thing. But finding a franchise quarterback is one of the hardest things to do in the NFL.
Sure.
And as much as I'm not the biggest Dak supporter on this show, and I'm not going to be like, I think he's the best.
Damn, that was on this show. He was like, Reggie supports him more than me. Y'all talk to Reggie.
I at the station is more so what I was referring to.
He's like, nah, don't look at me. Look at Reggie over there.
But I'm not going to be blind and act like every time you just draft a quarterback, it works out, especially for the Cowboys themselves. They haven't always had great success drafting quarterbacks. So this whole like, we're going to figure it out no matter what because we're the Cowboys kind of thought process, or we'll do contracts on our own time, which has been the Cowboys. It feels like that luck is going to start running out. And next thing you know, you're going to have a top 10 quarterback, however you think about him, hitting free agency. And why would he go back to the team when we've talked about all the stuff that's happened this offseason, all the stuff that's happened in the past of not prioritizing him? Why would he be like, yeah, I'll go to y'all for less money? We just saw Tyron not come back to you for less money. So why would a quarterback that can reset the market do it?
I don't know that that's where this is. I think that's what makes it so interesting. And our friend Jory Epstein, I'm going to lean on Jory a lot. She had some interesting things to say. She did mention that, she's talked to people in that building where there's a level of split. I don't know exactly what the percentage of the split is, where some people look up and they go, Dak Prescott is clearly a good quarterback and you're not going to find anything better. And then there might be some people that sit with a lot of the fan base where they go, you've put together some really good teams if you've not been able to get it done with Dak thus far. So, insert ellipses here, right? And so with that being the case, that then raises some questions on like it puts some other things in focus, right? Because that's not the only extension that you probably need to get done, and not getting that done then puts some other things in perspective. And the two extensions that are clearly the most important are what, Blake?
CD.
Yeah.
Micah.
Okay. Jory has some perspectives on both of those, and I want to get your opinion on this. Let's start with cut 10 here, Rodrigo, where she talks about probably the framework that you need to view the CeeDee Lamb potential extension in.
What you run into is, what's the order of the contracts you want to get done? To me, like, you get CeeDee Lamb done this offseason. CeeDee Lamb he was number 1 in receptions last year in the league, top 3 in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. He is reliable. He's a great locker room guy. He has been great with Dak. He's been great with quarterbacks in college. Like, he is someone who you need to lock up. And the only thing you gain by waiting is you're going to pay him more. And so I think that the Cowboys saw that last time, and they have a lot of deal inertia then. They had a lot of deal inertia now. I definitely think there's some frustration in the front office about some of that, of like, why aren't Jerry and Steven a little more adamant about getting things done? But to me, like, go get CD done. You're just going to pay him more. You want him.
The only problem is, if I'm CeeDee Lamb, if I'm CeeDee Lamb's agent, I am waiting to get my contract because I'm sure in his mind he thinks he's the best receiver in the game. And I think there's an argument to be made. I mean, he had a great season last year, all pro. I think most people would probably put him in their top 5 now. I think he had a really good, not a breakout season as far as being good, but a breakout season as far as going to that elite tier. Justin Jefferson's also due for money, and I'm sure he wants to top it. Now, do I think he should or will? That's up for debate. I just think if I'm CeeDee Lamb's agent, I'm like, well, let's let Justin Jefferson sign his big contract, and then we want to reset the market and be above that. Now, will he get it? Should he get it? That's for discussion. I think him and Jefferson are playing a little game of cat and mouse of who's going to sign, and the other person's going to try to top it, and their agent's going to use that as a marketing tool. Hey, my guy was better than this guy. We need more money than him. So that's kind of my thought on why he might be waiting, why the agent maybe isn't doing it. Now, I don't have behind the scenes information on who's the one waiting and doing it. But if I'm the Cowboys, I'm rushing to get it because I don't want Justin Jefferson to set the market.
Yeah, but if you're the Cowboys, not the Cowboys being the Cowboys, the decision makers in there, they have seemed to, when circumstances like this arise, they have seemed to drag their feet. In fact, it does seem like, from what I have read, that might be the situation again. When I say the decision makers, it really is Jerry and Steven, where maybe the rest of the front office is like, hey, we should probably get this done, huh? Yeah. Now, that's not the most interesting part of this. Where she goes next in cut 11 here, Rodrigo, is where it gets more interesting for me personally.
Mike is an interesting one because I think that I was talking to a defensive coach from another team about this, and I was just trying to understand because, like, on one hand, we see Micah's sack numbers, we see what he can do, but it's like, think about the biggest games that they had, the games against San Francisco, the playoff games. Like, what did Micah do in those games? And I had one coach tell me, when the Cowboys are winning, Micah's a Hall of Fame player. When the Cowboys need him most, he's pretty average. And I was asking, I'm like, okay, well, if he's taking off some plays, like people say Chris Jones takes off plays, like I still think he's worth the money. I still think he's helped the Chiefs to Super Bowls. And this coach, I think, wisely told me, Chris Jones takes off some plays, but he makes them when they matter most. Yeah. Micah is not 100% on all plays, but he kind of makes them when they matter least. And I'm not saying least, but he's not making them when they matter most. So I would say, like, you have to decide.
That sounds like the whole Cowboys team. That sounds like the entire.
I know. When I told this to someone in the front office, they started naming some other people on that roster. And I think there's something like culturally.
Man, was it just a Cowboys hate right here? Their little rant? No, I'm not. Okay.
No, Jory is a well-respected journalist. She's worked in this media in particular.
The other person that jumped us like, is this the whole Cowboys team? The culture sucks. No,
I mean that could have been a Cowboys fan saying that, though. To be fair, that's exactly the same.
I can't sit here and really disagree that in the biggest moments Micah hasn't showed up. I don't think that's really a hot take. Like, in those big San Francisco games, playoffs and regular season. And the big one, when you need them, when the defense isn't playing good, I need my best player to show up when the rest of it. Now, it's great when everyone's playing good and we're up 25-0 versus a third stringer and he's getting stripped sacks and fumbles and crawling on the ground. Yeah, love him. Is he still going to be a defensive player of the year candidate every year? Yes. But I agree with Jory. Like, when your team isn't playing well and you need him most, sometimes he doesn't show up. But
let me take that to the next place, because this is where it gets really interesting. Does that affect the way that you view a contract extension, especially as a dude who, again, he's basically a linebacker who is, a little bit bigger than a linebacker now, especially with the ways that he's tried to beef up a little bit. But he depends on his incredible athleticism. You give a second deal, and a second deal, I'm not trying to say this like this is his third deal and he's 30 now, but you give him a second deal, and now you are starting to consider, like, what is the, for lack of a better word, degradation? What is the evolution of his game, especially as athleticism factors a lot in, and maybe you think about possible work ethic, and you think about the ways in which is he making the big plays when you need it. Especially if the Dak contract and the way that the negotiations is telling us anything about the way the Cowboys might be looking forward, is it time to then say maybe the contract extension isn't the way you go with Micah? Maybe you try and move him along and get picks for, because I know there's someone that would want him. He is incredible when it comes to trying to add to a team.
I think it's a little bit of a tricky situation. You're hoping as an organization that when you draft a guy in the first round with that kind of, 12th, 11th overall, something like that you don't have these trepidations when it comes up to contract time, that it's an easy boom to get him a contract. He's going to be our blue chip player. And I think he is talent-wise blue chip player, but we obviously just markered the reasons on why that he's kind of up and down, and it makes this a little bit challenging. And I was listening to a podcast the other day about why the Chiefs let go of L'Jarius Sneed. You only have so many cap numbers to throw around. Those big cap hits, those plus 15, plus $20 million cap hits.
You saying pieces of the pie?
Yeah, only got so much of the piece of the pie, and you're already paying Diggs a lot of money, paying Zach Martin a lot of money, probably going to pay CeeDee Lamb a lot of money, paying DeMarcus Lawrence a lot of money. We'll see about Dak right now, but probably some quarterback. I struggle with just it being 100%. Just give him the biggest reset the defensive end / linebacker market and give him whatever he wants, because I know how much he does for this team and how bad they would look without him. But I understand both sides of the argument. If you had to make a decision today, where would you be, Reggie?
Are we starting with the premise that they are not bringing back Dak Prescott, or that he ends up in free agency and maybe does not come back here? Because if we're starting there, it might be, and it sounds so crazy because that's a dude who has perennially been in the defensive player of the year conversation. But if you are possibly starting back in that place where you're going to be trying to find a quarterback again, and you're definitely pushing that window out in that instance, I do wonder if utilizing Micah Parsons and then getting more draft capital and those types of things is a smart way to play this.
We'll have
or at least is something worth considering at the very least.
Well, 877-881-1053 is the what text line, Reggie?
It is the Frankel and Frankel Injury Attorneys text line.
Well, let us know what you would do with the Micah contract right now, as it is also coming up on that time.
Yeah, he's extension eligible, but he has this upcoming season and the season after where he's still under contract with that 5th year option.